Hi everyone, greetings from National Skills Network, Hyderabad. Thank you for joining us today for this important session on the latest technologies in welding. And as you may be aware, welding as a skill is most essential in many industry sectors and it plays an extremely crucial role in building whatever we do. So, welding, if you have been following, has undergone several changes and it has become quite an important skill to acquire, mainly in today's scenario when Industry 4.0 is influencing welding a lot. And automated welding and latest technologies is something we all should learn about. So, in this connection, we have with us an expert who is going to give us a lot of knowledge and information about this. So, welcome to this talk, Mr. Rahul Pathak. Mr. Rahul Pathak is the Vice President at Fine Arc Systems, which is based in Pune. And we would like to learn from you more about welding. But before we get started, since this conversation is facilitated by Fronius, we would like to know more from you about your association with Fronius. So, welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Dubey. I appreciate this gesture very much. And thank you for having me over. Our association with Fronius is for several years. We have done multiple projects together. And recently, for the BS6 program, we delivered a very big line to a top end industry. Manufacturer, which is responsible for making the entire BS6 compliant commercial vehicle engines. So to add to that, Fronius makes top end equipment, and we use a lot of their products in the solutions that we offer, and for different and critical applications, including TIG and very, very specific applications which normal solutions are not available from the market. So that is very important from our side. Yes. And Fronius has traditionally been very reliable, and I think they can probably shed a better light on how they see Finearc as a partner in delivering the higher end technology projects. So
It's nice to know about your association, which has been long term. And since you mentioned about the technologies, the latest technologies, we would like to learn from you about how automation and robotics is impacting welding. Welding, maybe a few examples from one or two industry sectors will help us understand it better.
Yes, to just to give a little bit of perspective, we have been in the business for a long time. Yeah, we have been in the business for more than 30 years now, and automation typically has started with a lot of hard automation or automation or special purpose machines, as we call it.
Mhm.
Yes. Now the so that is more what is traditionally called hard automation. Now the focus has shifted as there are less batch sizes. The focus shifts more towards flexible automation where robotics come into the picture. So even now robotics has been very widely accepted and used in the Indian industry since the past several years. We made our first robot system in 1998 or 99. It's a long time ago. But now since 20 years the volumes have increased. So definitely robots are here to stay. Robots uh, uh, will be the thing of the future, or are already the future. And more importantly, skilled labor is a very big serious issue. So in fact we would encourage companies like you, and we thank you for your initiative, where you need to develop the skills in robotic welding per se. So for that you need to know different areas of operation that moves around this technology. Just to give an impact, there are thousands of robots that are used on a yearly basis in India. So it's the future. It's impacting very heavily, and there is no go but for the Indian automation and manufacturing industry to adopt this robotic welding technology. There is absolutely no choice, because those simply, and the reasons for these are multifold. You need top quality, you need more productivity, you need the consistency and repeatability, which you cannot expect a human being to do. So
Yeah.
it's an amalgamation of many technologies or many needs put together, which robots offer the solution to.
Okay. Yeah, so since you mentioned many technologies and also the coming together of many technologies, I'm sure it demands a lot of skills which could be higher order skills in a profession like welding. So could you please tell us what could be these skills, particularly for an audience, let's say, who still consider welding to be a very typical manual exercise, you know? So it has moved a lot. So maybe you can tell us this journey and also the skills that are needed.
Okay, traditionally the welding, when a layman typically sees welding,
Yeah.
he is just thinking of some roadside shop with some sparks flying around,
Right.
and he's repairing an old car or something like that, or some he's making a compound or a grill or something like that. That's the perception that typically is associated with welding. But let me tell you, for welding, you can weld right from 4 microns, which is like 4 thousandths of a millimeter thin sheet, right up to 12-inch or 20-inch thick plate, which is used in shipbuilding. So the basic range in which the welding and technologies used is very diverse, and it engulfs all the manufacturing industries, including your mobile phones and your cars and all the day-to-day products that we use, even your pressure cookers and your mixie grinders and whatever everybody uses daily is typically welded. And the welding is done using different technologies. So for people to get a comprehension as, hey, what is welding, is very difficult, but they need to study welding as a domain in entirety.
Mm.
So so for students to get into the skills that are required for welding, there are, I would namely main two or three skills to start with. One is the basic welding knowledge. Yeah, in typically in the industries or in schools or even in colleges, welding is just one workshop for a mechanical engineer. They make some small projects, and it just do it for like maybe 40 hours in the whole course, and that too in one semester. So it's nothing, it's barely an introduction into welding. But over a period of time, you can study welding, which is having multiple processes, and I can enumerate them if you want, but there it's a long list. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you need automation now. So since welding is become an amalgamation of different areas, you need to know the robots. So the robot technology, because you need to apply the welding, and then you need to automation, you need to know automation. So for example, programmable logic controller, PLCs, motors, and all that. So at the end of it, whatever is delivering the solution is the full system. So you need to know the skills associated with all these different technologies combined to deliver a top end solution, which fine art traditionally does.
Mhm.
Having said this, it is not very easy for one person to have all those skills at one shot. Yes. So he can learn welding, he can be a robot engineer, he can be a PLC engineer, or he can do a mechatronics diploma, for example. He
Mhm.
has to do a lot of good mechanical engineering, jigs, fixtures, tooling, that kind of courses. So if I were a, let's say, a 10th standard student, for example, then I would pick anything that interests me and go really deep into the matter. And using those particular skills, he can definitely find a good job in an industry that is delivering this solution, because the industry definitely needs good engineers or good technicians to address this scenario in detail.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
very elaborate explanation that you gave us, and also the importance of various skills. Now, coming to your own company at FineArc, how do you ensure that your the people who are working, on the shop floor or even others, they are adequately trained? And how do we also extend this to other companies, that people have to be trained and it's not something that can be just picked up on one's own, because it's pretty serious.
Uh, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
typically our customers are driving our training.
Okay.
Look, the whole welding industry is very big. You
Hmm.
can just keep on studying and not apply it. So, but we cannot be studying just for theoretical purposes.
Right.
So, let's say an example, a customer has a particular project. Yes. Then in that particular thing, different technologies may be involved or different needs may be there. So we adopt our robot engineer training based upon the system that we are delivering, so that he has all the necessary skills to configure the system or install the system for that particular application. Same applies to welding. Then for example, if he's doing say gas metal arc or mig welding, then there are different sub processes in that also. Different types of materials are welded in that also. So we end up training these people in a very skilled way. So for that, we could send them to either welding institutes, or we could sell them to say ITIs, or we could sell them to, say for example, Fronius, for doing maybe a couple of days training or a week's training on what real equipment that we are using. So it just depends upon the application.
Hmm.
And and I'll tell you, once you learn it for a, let's say, a particular project, it's like maths. Once you learn maths, then you can use it in science also, where maths is also required. So it kind of spreads itself horizontally, like that. Typically when a student is selecting a career, let's say after 10th or 12th, there is always the question, how, what will I get a job, will I get an enough salary for that job and all that.
Yeah.
So if he has uh, if he has ended up in a situation where he begins to like welding, yes, and he becomes good at it, either on the automation side, or the manual skill side, or the robot side, or the PLC side, or the tooling side, I can assure you that there is no dearth of jobs that he can get. Yes, I'll tell. We are having an organization at a personal level between a friend of mine and us, where we teach kids English. Yeah, it's in a rural area in Maharashtra. Yes, they just graduated, 210 standard kids, and now they are going to do a diploma at an institute in northern Maharashtra, where they will do a mechatronics course, because they are from a very very rural area. Even yeah, like remote means, to reach there it takes 7 hours. It's like in interior Maharashtra. So
Yeah.
so we said, look, I know about welding. Why don't we train them in a field that we know, so that we are sure that we can get a job for them, and they also will be able to do that.
Hmm.
So to answer this question, kids need not be worried at all about whether it's a right choice in a career or not.
Yeah.
And 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 even if they learn robots, for example, they need not apply it only for welding. They can do it for handling, or they can do it for cutting. So it becomes very very generic. But
Right.
at the end of it all, they have to be committed to that particular career path that they have chosen.
Exactly.
That's very important. So they need to commit and take the jump in this and say, okay, now robot is the field for me, or controls is the field for me, say PLCs and automation is the field, or welding is the field for me. If they are excellent at that, it's not a problem. It's like the Three Idiots movie. Yeah. So if you really choose to be good at what you are in,
Yeah.
people will chase you, that's for sure. Yes.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think that's most important when they decide to go ahead with a particular domain or a subdomain, they have to excel themselves, and it applies very well to any domain of welding as well. And
Yes.
as you also reinforced, there are a lot of career opportunities, and they can build their career, and it's not like it is limited to a manual skill, which you gave the example of somebody's, like a roadside welder, or someone who's just doing it, for a livelihood, but then there are also a lot of higher opportunities, greater career opportunities, and higher education as well. uh,
Just to add to that,
yeah.
I have done it as my livelihood for last 25 years. So, and let me tell you, if you are good at it, it's a sufficiently rewarding or satisfying career.
Yeah.
But it's important that you are good at it, and you are focused on it, and you really deliver a good solution. That is very, very, so you have to excel.
Yeah.
So for example, if you are one amongst many, then anyway it's not going to be good enough, and
Yeah.
that's applying to anything.
Yeah.
So you have to excel, there's no doubt about that. But if you do it right, there's the sky is the limit, that is for sure. Yes.
And
Yes.
I think somewhere at the back of this, continuous learning is also very important for anyone who's picking up any knowledge or skill. Now, coming to the industry part of it, since India is predominantly, into MSMEs, the most of the industries fall under the MSME sector. What is your view about MSMEs adopting robotic welding or latest technologies in welding?
uh, MSMEs are already adopting latest technologies. They do, MSMEs also have a real dearth of welders, so they don't have enough people in there. And since they don't have welders, they have to go towards the automation side. But let me tell you this: the basic welding knowledge is required in every MSME to be able to adopt automation for welding. We have many MSME customers.
Hmm.
The welders there feel threatened that they will lose their jobs, but
Right.
it's not like that. In fact, we want to harness the welding knowledge which the MSME welders have and upgrade them, or and their team, and create a team around them where they can use that knowledge and apply it for their company. And using automation, they can make their company more productive, and in turn result in their own growth. So like you said, if a welder says I know everything and now from tomorrow I'm going to do this all my life, there's no progress. But if he says, okay, I'll adopt robotics, or I'll adopt automation, and I'll help my company do that, then he can also grow with this. So he can elevate himself from being uh, a so-called blue-collared welder to a welding engineer and a robot engineer or an automation engineer, where he can use his knowledge to upgrade himself and his organization to a higher level, and which in turn makes him an indispensable part of his organization also. So
Yeah.
this is, but for that you have to stick with that organization, you have to build that knowledge internally. So those basics of as I call it, human engineering, those have to remain in place. Then only you can move forward, because now the trend is people want a fast buck. They move from jobs to jobs, and in the process, you lose knowledge. Yeah. So when you move from
Right.
company A to company B, then what you learned in A may not be applicable for B. So you lose that knowledge. Then from B again, you're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So we be consistent, and we don't change schools. Yeah. From first when we enter, we typically end up at the 10th or 12th standard. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in a company, it's very, very similar. You at least you spend 10 years in an organization, and you'll see your career graph is grow very good, I think. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's good to understand from you, mainly because you have been re-emphasizing on the career path and career prospects for people who are choosing this profession. It's very important to understand and learn, how their careers can progress in this particular field. So besides all the points you just discussed, is there something else you would like to tell our audience? Because we also see a lot of women getting into this profession by choice. They are picking up welding skills and they are doing well, they are excelling in competitions. So I think overall scenario is changing and it's very encouraging. So would you want to say something?
Yes, yes, I would like to say a little. The direct advantage of just adopting automation in welding is productivity, quality, consistency, repeatability. These are direct hard advantages, and there's a lot of detail out there in the field which will tell you the technical details associated with that. That there'll be less rejection. You'll make so many. You'll reduce your parts per million, quality related issues, and all that. Coming to the skill side, as far as girls are concerned, there is nothing in welding which a girl cannot do.
Hmm.
If a boy can weld, a girl can equally weld as well. There is no there is no limitation on that front at all. There can be a limitation that, of course, you have to work in a very heated environment and all that, but that's no different for a girl to a boy. And if the girl is good in robots, in programming, we have several female staff in our organization who do these on a daily basis. But the only downside to it is, when we have projects, we need them to travel to distant locations, sometimes remote locations, and that is when we prefer to have boys over girls, to do that, just for the safety and obvious social considerations, more than anything else. So
Right.
other than that, there is absolutely no barrier. Any good welding engineer can be a male or a female. Absolutely no problem at all. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so nice to hear about the encouragement you're giving for women to enter into this profession. I think that will also transform the way the skill or the profession is seen by a lot of people in India. So on this note, a very positive note, learning from you today about the big picture of how robotics is influencing and impacting welding, and how you very rightly said it's actually going to empower people rather than take away jobs from them, particularly welders who have been traditionally into this profession. I wish to thank you, and also tell you that we'll be in touch with you. Maybe we will have another conversation with you with lot more focus perhaps in the coming days. Thank you so much.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you once again for this opportunity. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I'll always be available to support the great work that you are doing. So thank you once again, and have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye. Thank you.